Hey, Lauren.
Hello.
Sorry, I had a shower. There we go.
Ready?
59, no.
Okay.
I'm ready for how to.
Just trying to. Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
How it's going.
Did you guys drink water?
Yeah.
We got water.
Okay. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Andrew, welcome. Happy joining us on our committee. We have just one online, and I'm told that Bob will be joining us electronically at Howard. You will begin. So just a quick refresh as to agenda items for tonight. We're going to go through the 5 projects that we've been working on, which is splash pad update, town hall update, which Mark will get multi-function board update. That I'll give an update that Alec is here, and then parks enhancements, joint agenda you there, and then Robert did a nice piece of work on the pool enhancements. And in terms of heat options, what that might cost. So more work to be done there, but he's really starting to lay that message. So before we begin, this is starting a new term for the second annual master plan. It's an official group here, celebration. So we need to select a committee chair and vice chair. So I will floor up to nominations.
I nominate Joe as chair.
Are you? I'm up for one more term because that's a big problem. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Good. Vice chair. The nominations.
So,
Chair, do we need a question?
We do not need a vice chair now.
Okay, let's move to.
No. Yes, I feel like you did a great job as a chair, right? And I feel like the position is not really
Okay,
necessary, so.
but for the first time since we've been doing this in the last year before, I will miss the meeting next month, probably because I'm gonna be somewhat redundant.
Okay, I mean, I could, yeah.
Yeah, so,
I mean, if anybody else.
yeah, so,
Uh,
I'll do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. Well, anyway, great. Well, thank you.
so were you nominated to elect, whatever?
If anybody
Well,
else. has any
for,
questions.
yeah,
Okay.
for this unofficially, it's,
Yeah.
so you speak. Hey, Bob, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so let's go for a splash pad update, if I may.
Real quick, I guess we have to also address the code of conduct, which is, I don't know if the document was emailed to everyone, but there's a copy here. And I'll just pass this around and then signing, agreeing to the code of conduct that all.
Yeah, we'll stop. It's not.
It is new for committees.
Oh,
It's just be nice to people.
Is that the same thing as when you applied?
Yes.
So we already signed it.
No, I don't think I signed it.
I don't
It's
think I've-
separate from.
No, all right, I thought it was a blurb on the application.
Oh, no, this is a whole.
No, this is all.
Gotcha.
That was saying that you'll sign a code of conduct.
This is for a specific committee.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Does the code of conduct transpire online? Or just,
That's a good question. Well, it's a very good question. I wish you didn't ask it, but when this comes your way.
because I know there's a difference of code of conduct.
And all that we can govern is what we do.
Okay. That's
Could I,
fair.
And events.
talk about capital funds? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I will pass this around, so I'm just reading. So we'll go to, before we get into the six five discussion items, let's turn it over to give an update on the overall financial status of the capital fund.
Just for everybody's knowledge, through April, 105 homes have been sold at an average price of $838,000. We burned $440,000 in capital fee. If we had not passed that, we would only be at $137,000. So it's a big difference from that. So the average is higher than budget. Capital fund sits at the end of April 3.7, but it's not that simple. There's $355,000 for Spring Park in 2024 that's charged to the replacement fund. It should charge to capital. So it's going to reduce the capital fund by that. But the other side of that is there's $568,000 owed by the operating fund to the capital fund. Primary reason for that is accounts receivable is between 1.3 and $1.5 million. And they haven't really been collecting. They should have been collecting. There's a big chunk that we found out on Monday on apartment fees that are not being paid. But there's a lot of dues that are not being paid. And they haven't been enforcing that if you don't pay in 90 days, you can check for it. That's going to the board. So when everything settles in, we would have been at 3.9 million instead of 7.7. Looking at just 2025 right now, looking at the splash pad, what's left for that, we spent 105 or 1.5 million for the 851 this year, and we paid like whatever it's going down. And the housing market stays about the same, will still be at about 3.5 million. Correct.
That's it. Thank you. All right, good. So again, as we look at what we have at the beginning of the year and what we projected, for the ending balance, normalized for the 851 being spread out over 2 calendar years. That's a good source of estimate. Okay, splash pad update. We meet weekly with the splash pad vendor, Splash Pads USA, to go through the project plan and to go through updates. And as of this week, the detailed architectural plans are now complete. They just need to be stamped. Once they're stamped, which should take a week or 2 weeks, it will go to the county and start the permitting process. That puts us maybe a week to 10 days behind the schedule that we laid out 4 months ago, 3 months ago. So relatively speaking, okay. It just took a little longer to put some issues, but things are going along just fine for that. We will break ground and do a demolition, start with demolition and then reformulating, re-landscaping, putting in new surfaces and all the piping, plumbing, that work will start in July. So assuming this permitting done, we're not 6 weeks. But we'll be subject to the permitting, but the pretty straightforward what we want to go do. We break ground in July and project is still on track to be done in September. But in September, it could be the 30th, but it will be done in September, a little bit later than we wanted, maybe a couple weeks behind schedule or through the field. But bottom line is the vendor's doing a great job so far. They like everything the same, and so that's what that project is currently degree.
All payments should be done by September.
All payments should be done by September. I mean, that last rollback, I think was, by September. You might pay, we're finished, we'll finish on September 30th. Okay, so that's it, splash pad. I'm gonna turn it over to Mark to give us an update as to where we are with the town hall renovation.
Lauren said October.
She said October for the last thing,
Yeah, October, just,
which is expected, yeah.
because the project's
The 90% drawings are complete on the project. So the sign is carrying on schedule. I think everybody's word here, but I had an estimate done. Group that has the possibility of acting as construction manager and possibly get the project rolling. But I did ask them to estimate on it. They didn't take it out to the trades, but they're strictly accurately in the market. It did come back at right where I actually thought it would, which is a good thing, which is around 3 million plus or minus in the end. Probably end up a little bit more. We put contingencies to it. Anything that might be a surprise as you get into the building itself. So the good news is that's in line with what I have thought all along that it might be, which is still definitely half of what a new building would be, period. No doubt about that, Mike. What occurred with that was a contractor I'm working with on the project for Orlando Health had a window of opportunity where they were actually asking if we had anything in line with my day job of healthcare architect and doing projects like that. Because they have teams coming off, and while they're a large contractor, they have teams here that might end up at Naples, Tampa, or somewhere else, and they wanted to see if we had anything small to do in this area. And that's when it occurred to me, well, might have something. So I asked if had something they do, and to put together package qualifications, and they would just do an estimate. What I did not expect I believe the board has seen the document. That's right.
Have not.
You didn't see the piece we got back. Somebody told me we did. So I'll send it out.
No.
Okay, nothing.
I haven't even seen it. I haven't been on a lot of emails about it, so.
Okay, it was something that I thought was forwarded to the board. It's not here, but Lauren, do you know if it was or not?
I don't believe it was forwarded to the board. It is in the master plan committee teams folder, I think, but I will certainly share it with the board and
Yeah.
for them to discuss.
Okay, there's some, in that case, I'll explain a lot more.
Lauren, let's not share it after this meeting, so this discussion finishes.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll likely be in the board packet.
And so That's this point, just somebody told me you actually had, otherwise I would have sent it to you already. They have an opening, they could get started immediately, but the idea is they act as a construction manager, which means what you're really doing with them is their overhead number, the stuff for them to manage it. They would still put this out to trades. They can get as many bids as you want. So they could get 3 bids for each trade to make that look like it's as open as it could be. What the package talked about acting as construction managers, they could put together a guaranteed maximum price. They could have done it on 60% drawings. So they put a number to it that they would guarantee they can meet that and go ahead and get started on the project. The benefits of that are that they could start immediately. In other words, working to go get demo permits, work on getting a contract ready with the board. They can get things going where they can get started on the project now. What that obviously means on the other end is it's done potentially several months sooner. Then if we wait until the drawings are done, wait for the process, the architect's writing an RFP to send out to contractors. Yeah. And that process would obviously drag out and then going for permits after that. So there's 2.5, 3 months that there's potential to possibly condense that and get going on it. So there's the advantage to possibly hearing them out and possibly proceeding that way. One, you know what the price is. 2, you're still getting fair bids from subcontractors. You'll see in the package, they were actually way more qualified than I even thought. The team members are identified and have worked on projects that just happen to be renovations of the community centers all over Florida. So there's probably 6 or 7 of these things of doing exactly what we're doing, which give me an extra impetus to go ahead and push it. They do that type of work, they do it well. The team members that would be doing it are the ones that are proposed. It is something that they can get going much faster. It's a high-level contractor, so it's not. I don't know if they're nationwide, but they're certainly regional in a very large area. You're bringing a gorilla to it, so they're definitely going to do everything they can to get it done and get it done on time and meet the numbers. I will say with the work I've seen them do, I definitely have seen them follow through and get everything done when the client gets it. The possibility here is that they could show up and do a presentation to you guys to explain all this way better than I can. And they are willing to do that for next week, potentially, if the board would be interested in hearing them present it, talk about it, and any questions you have to ask them. That's an approach you want to take.
So I'll jump in here and say
Yeah.
that Lauren updated me on everything we just said, and I was aware of that. So I have talked to all the board members, and there is a unanimous agreement to move forward with this.
Okay.
I think the presentation would be helpful.
It would be. Yes.
There's a couple things we need to clarify. I don't know if we want to do this now or if you want to do this separately. I think we need to clarify the GMP. I think we need to clarify their fee. 7% seems high.
It's actually for the, they can address that better than I can. What I will say for the size of the project, it's not. If this was a larger building, it'd be closer to 4 in Matthew Brook.
Yeah.
But for a building this size, it really is in line where it is. I asked other people that exact question, so I did not know.
All right. So it's a not to exceed. When they put it out to bid, and moves on into 3 subs. Each of the subs comes in at $500,000, and it's not 3 million. The subs came in at 1.5 million. Now we paid 1.5. We paid this. That's
You're
price.
paying whatever it is.
Whatever the bid.
Put it this way, I'd
is,
let them explain it, not me.
because that's
There's a back and forth with that, obviously. So if they save money, I'm sure there's parts in there to bring back to. I'd rather them explain that.
Okay.
And honestly,
So
at this point,
the price doesn't change.
well, quite frankly, they could just put it out to bid and get the free bids from subcontractors now. So the thing is, the drawings are more complete now. I was hoping this process would be a little bit quicker, that we technically lost them already, with an approach like this.
I thought their general conditions were closer to 200, and that is what I also shared.
Yes,
Their general conditions here are 350.
Yeah.
And
so as we back that, well, what is that?
it's 7%, 1.25 insurance and general conditions 341. So they're getting 341 plus 7%.
No, that is the number. That 300 and something, if there's the insurance in that number, that is the 7% line is there, so that is the number, I believe. Yeah, and I've just like to have them explain it instead of me. So one thing I could simply explain is that if you put this out to other construction managers in the same format, you would be asking what your percentage would be. Now, when you take 1 or 2% off that number, guess what? That's tens of thousands, not whatever. And that's like you're delayed by 2 or 3 months here. So it's a possibility of moving it forward.
You know, are all the subcontractors, all that work done at the same time, or is it when they start the work, everybody gonna think of?
That's a good question. That I've asked on that.
So I guess that would be my concern, is if you're agreeing to the 3.5 million, they can always make it up on those later contracts that are subcontractors to hit the 3.5.
Yeah, well, that's what you need to ask them about, is exactly how it works. So the reality again is it might just be a straight bid without it. So GMP is done when you hand them documents are completely done. So at this point, maybe just getting them going so they can start.
So our purpose tonight, I did. So there's 2 paths. There's the let's do it business as usual and get plans done, process, put it out to bid. And that would normal way you might do it, and that would take longer than this other method, where you would still have competitive bidding, except on the 200,000 plus 7%.
These are the construction managers.
So for this group,
Which is 223. I'm looking at it
that's
right now.
220.
They're 7% and 223. So that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that number's not that big. So when you think about bidding that out to several
So
GCs that operate as construction manager, it's gonna be tens of thousands.
So the question,
20,000, but you can move this forward.
Yeah.
2.5, 3 months, start that.
so the question is, do we support Jared and Martin have got, Martin has got the company to the 10% next week, so do we support leaving this committee with them not making a recommendation necessarily, but allowing?
We should make, there should be a motion and a vote on, do you support this as the plan for the meeting?
I think we should have that after they present. We can be open for them to present next year, but once they present, if they're terrible, we don't approve it here, we have to see them show.
Yeah.
So I think what we have today is only, do they present next week or not?
Yeah.
And you know, and we, you know,
Oh, what I want to say is, I would definitely like them to present to the board, period. What I'm hoping can happen is that if you do find it acceptable, or your questions are answered, you make some kind of motion to proceed down that line so that they can start putting together agreements for you and start the process of what they do. Immediately,
I guess,
if the board can. You know, if you're not signing contracts and not doing anything, you're saying you'll move forward down that path.
yeah, I also would understand that there was general consensus here that this was what they wanted to move forward with, so.
And wouldn't the board's vote supersede our vote?
Yes.
Yeah, they just want to confirmation.
Jordan's not gonna do
This is our
this
project.
Thinks this is the right way to go, which I
So I
think.
think we should vote on it.
yes, well.
We all agree with the board's yes or no superseding.
Except that. But just don't know, and maybe it's there, I read this thing pretty quickly, is they put the pieces. I'm fine with not putting out to bid the 200,000 management. Sure.
Yeah.
But if all the other pieces are gonna be put out to bid, and we say by
The three.
three bidders, and we're gonna pay that price, then that's
the
fine.
price.
But then, so it's, not to exceed three, it could be less, but it can't be,
Well,
and you're saying, you know.
I wouldn't focus on the not to exceed, it's let them talk about that with you.
Okay,
What the
alright, so
process would be.
I understand that a little,
There's,
conceptually, okay.
I don't want to draw a line in the sand of the exact cost, please, because that's how we get in trouble. Is if it's 3.1, it probably ought to do that, you should put a contingency on it. If it's 2.9, that's one thing, but I wouldn't say, please do it for 3, because then we got to figure out.
Does this not, what does this say? Does it say something?
3.2. The question is, does the board agree with 223,000 to contract them and say, we're gonna spend this with them? And they're gonna go out and bid this, and it's gonna cost 3 million or 3.2 million.
Or 4 million,
Yes.
because that's, or 4 million.
I'm confident it won't cost that.
We're
much at this
waiving,
point.
we're waiving 3 bids. And the board is expecting that from this group. And the confidence to waive the 3 bids and go with this. If that's not the case, we don't need to have a presentation, we just need to go out to 3 bids. The presentation doesn't add value.
Well,
If there's not confidence from this group, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
I would like to see us both say, we recommend to the board that they have these people come to present. And as long as the board sees that they're qualified, please approve them to move forward.
Yes, that is a good.
Do you want to make that?
You want to make a motion?
Make that motion.
What you said, yeah.
So
All right. No, we don't have a secretary.
It's transcribed.
That's right. Also, that interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, go ahead, so make a motion.
okay, I'd like to make a motion that we vote on the company that Mark has presented.
That's D'Angelo Steinman.
Thank you.
Construction company.
To recommend to the board to meet with them. And as long as the board is satisfied, we support their moving forward with these people without going for 3 bids.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
So,
Bob, did you vote?
Aye.
all right, there we go.
So it's just one thing that the board needs to know is there's not 3 bids for moving forward, but the subcontractors, there's the expectation for 3 bids on that.
Expectation.
Yes.
They do know that.
So the 2.9, anything but the management fee, these two
We still have multiple bids.
So we're just waiving the general contractor.
contractors.
All the subcontractors will be bid out by.
Just so that there's things out there that, yeah, we're not
Yeah.
pushing forward just
Between
one
one
person for $3 million bid.
Correct.
One person's work, so.
That's what I wanted to make clear with this, is that you can still have them do what they need to do.
Right.
To
But
satisfy.
they're acting as general contractor, right?
It's a construction manager, it's a little bit different. It's not different, but it's different. You can require them to do whatever you want.
So,
So if you're requiring them to get 3 bids for each trade, they will do the
Well,
best.
this is responsible for permits.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll take care of very good of that.
so
That's the benefit of this, is they could be going, kind of give up permit right now. All right, terrorists,
The
sorry.
other benefit that I pointed to the board was that we still have, like, this oversight as owners rep of D'Angelo Steinman. So like.
Yeah, 100%. You still see
It's
it.
not, we're not just letting anyone come.
Correct.
it is.
So people forget that, part of, it's an architect, part of our basic service is to oversee construction. And so by that, we're reviewing all the submittals, reviewing everything's coming in, looking at the pricing, making sure that the things are being put in or match what was specified. Or if there's substitute, approving that, approving any changes, approving any, literally any change. It goes through the architect, they're watching the construction. They're monitoring the whole process. So that is part of the basic services
With
with construction. Yes, that's their job. To oversee that, that the work matches what's happening.
So this proposal then will end up in the board packet and we will vote. The motion in the board packet would be an action item to move forward with a contract negotiation with D'Angelo Smith,
Yes,
with a presentation to include.
yeah, and of course you can ask any questions you want. I kind of outlined what you guys would be concerned about, so it's one of those that hopefully they'll have answers. The other thing I haven't asked them yet, because I want to confirm we are moving forward before I add to it, is one thing I do want them to do is just blatantly give me a shot in the dark, even though it won't be, because they actually build these things. What would it cost from the ground up to build a new one? Just to validate again that that's significantly more than double, or at least double.
We also have, I do want to know, and you can ask them this or we can call them, but this 223, like what is the outline of the contract with them? Is it the whole project?
It would be, yeah.
Because there's a community presentation requirement. So we have to take that into consideration. The 223 fee does not fit that requirement. A $3 million. So if that's a separate contract than the construction portion, then that doesn't, their contract doesn't need. This is just semantics for our.
Yeah, it's gonna be for the whole thing
Okay,
in the end. You're
then we'll have to do that as part of the
Yes.
following workshop,
correct.
but it'll take 2 weeks to negotiate this contract.
Yeah, well, you guys gotta work on that together.
Okay.
You know, but at least what it does, it gets their team moving, in literally a perfect time. And this will get the project done much sooner, which I think is an absolute win for everybody. I wouldn't be pushing this at all if I didn't see that huge benefit of time. It's good. And when I saw their qualifications of it, look at it, it's cheating. It's exactly this. So I have high confidence they can do a good job on it.
Regarding their time on the document, it shows what they're starting in August and finishing in February.
Yep.
This would be pushed 2 months ahead if
It's
someone
whichever way.
was it.
Yeah, it's whichever direction you're asking those questions, whether it's scheduled.
We're just thinking if it does get approved, then they're starting, say, 2 months earlier in May.
Yeah.
This has a chance to be done by end of December. Unlikely, but I guess, Lauren, what is the term on the Bank of America rental building lease? When does that go through?
Oh, good Lord. Yeah,
It expires in July. There's gonna be some board discussion on the extension because of some changes in the lease terms and a possible need to move. But so there's some flexibility with Lexon. But we'll see.
But I guess on that, if this is getting done in first quarter, and that doesn't need to be renewed. We should pass that out by July.
Every month is like 10 grand, which you get.
That's what I was about to
those
ask.
Together and it's
So
a fee.
right. Yeah, so that reinforces what I've said is if you send out to 3 groups to do the exact same thing, you're offsetting nothing.
It's still get 300,000.
Yeah.
So that was Charles as well, when I was talking with him about this, he said the same thing, that we save the money on the lease.
Yes. 1,000%. However, you're gonna wanna side on that a little bit further into it. Getting actual building permits is fun. So that's for those guys to comment on. Is if they definitely think this is realistic and what permit that it falls in. However, again, they can start on other pieces of it, site work, demolition, and then
So the only related, unrelated observation I have is the overall project and project management. This, like the splash pad, which is small, I'm doing that, maybe things. This is more complex. I know we had Kelly, I know we got D&D, but food from a community perspective, would they, as grand managers or somebody is gonna sit every day and make sure things are moving as they should be. That just the bids are being put out properly, whatever, just managing it as you.
Yeah, along those lines, right? Who is responsible from Grand Matters, or does someone need to be hired to oversee
To
it?
just, especially because we're doing this on the fast track, and we're doing, it's all great, but who is? We're not gonna answer that, but for that is, for the smaller projects. But we know something,
No, I agree with you.
we know something as simple as a playground. It's not project management.
This has to be someone's only project to make sure it progresses.
Yeah, so it's, that's that, no, we just need to, when we talked about this, Andrew, a couple of us are very feel very strongly for all the projects we're doing, small or big, should be somebody who is a certified project.
I support it.
And they don't have to know anything about town hall, the project management is project management, so what we have construction. That would be great. They don't have to manage on project.
It would be great, however, if it,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
But it's,
Whether a not
but it's
professional.
a specific skill set, it's
It is,
out in the market. get
you're right,
Tired. Tired.
agreed, yeah. And I will say I'm fine
Where
with,
they are.
even though I regret doing it with my own time, but anyway, I have no problem with what we're doing now as I'm listening on the call about the design stuff. And that takes me an hour once every few weeks, so if there is a periodic phone call about progress, which there should be, it's usually every 2 weeks or so. I have no problem listening into that, help guide things if I see things that are off. At least be another ear to it besides project manager and architects.
So let's just get a little bit of time and as long as it's a conscious decision that we're not gonna do it, or we are gonna do it, or we're gonna find, or whatever it is, I would just like this all to make a conscious decision. As opposed to, oh, they're gonna do a good job, but if we decide that we're not gonna have a project manager, or that somebody from Grand Manners is gonna do it a half hour a day, fine. Or we're actually gonna hire someone, whatever it is, I just like it to be a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Decision to do nothing or do something. As opposed to,
I'll make sure that's part of our discussion.
thank you. Okay, next to the passing down,
Before we go past that, we halfway voted on the motion, I didn't quite understand. As I understand, the motion was that we are supportive, not binding, but we're supportive of a movement forward with one company that will be a contract or be a construction manager. They won't do any work, but they will get bids for every sub. And then they will combine all those bids and they will be held accountable for making sure they get all the subs they need to get the
For
job.
100%, yeah, they really are acting as a DC.
They will
period.
present, this is how much it's gonna cost based on this bid,
Yes.
they all go together, they're, I
Right.
think it's 7%, it sounds like, we could not agree to play.
Right.
That's the motion, right?
yes,
Right, which is also why it's important that somebody is in the community, is a committee or something is following this as and puts out.
Well, I'm in favor of it, I'm just saying.
Yeah. And again, it's up to them to sell the work, so, and I think they will.
Right, yeah, we didn't do that, but like I
Yeah,
said,
but that's-
all 7 of us
We
are,
guys consider it.
all 7 of us are in agreement to consider waiving the 3 requirements. And this presentation goes well, we'll enter into an agreement.
Great.
thank you. Okay, so I passed out into this. But this is a list of 19 projects. Sure, it's online, I sent it.
I have it on my blog.
Okay, yeah, you can put it on the screen. So just as a reminder, we should have done this a few minutes ago. That's okay. So this is 19 projects, Andrew, and others that we are going to do or potentially going to do based upon the strategic plan or and some additions that were given to us by the Crow Board, such as the Crow maintenance shed, which Dennis, your name should be there, so TP. And pool heating was added with the Crow Board asked us. So we're going to evaluate those projects. There are certain core projects that we are not going to evaluate, we're going to go do unless something comes up against way like splash pad, like town level. Etc. So anyway, this is kind of our scorecard of what we're doing. And the reason I want to focus on this every meeting is we need to, once we decide after doing the work, like Bob's done on the heating, when we decide to recommend approval for projects like we did on the splash pad, that we focus on what's the completion date. Once we decide to go with the completion date. To the completion date, we work backwards. Now we have to work forward first and then backwards. But when do we want to have this? right? Because there's certain projects that say, you know what? The community said, yeah, I don't know what that date is, that's okay, but there may be other projects like the renovation of town hall, that says done by April. It said, why not change it? Fine, but it's a first quarter next year, well, it's first quarter next year, architect, what's that mean? So anyway, this is our scorecard. We will cross out projects, we will add projects to it. That's the purpose I believe this group is to be driving home. And the other most important column is the champion of each one. So like Art is the champion. He may not necessarily support it 100%, but that he will go gather all the facts, send it to the group, like Bob is doing. Adding, heating to the pools, go gather all the facts, make sure it's in everybody's spotlight, and make sure you got the pros, the cons, understand budgets, timelines. You be the champion, and then you come present it to this group, and then to CROA, to community vote, whatever it is, but that you've got that, because otherwise everybody's going to be saying, oh, I like that, no, you lead the meeting and at least try to take 1, 2, or 3 of these items and go work. Maybe you don't work with this month, you work with next month. At least we know that we've got each project happening.
So something I'd like to stand side by side, and Lauren, if you can you send out the reserve study to everyone? So I believe on the reserve study, North Village has substantial replacement fees or funds in 2026. Lakeside, I believe at 26 and 27, so how do we incorporate not just capital new, but our replacement coming up and different parts incorporating into the overall view that things might shift and move around, flip flop years, things of that nature. So that's something that I'm happy to look at the reserve study, put that together, almost put this side by side with this current one. So then when we come back to the table, we can discuss where should we put certain things.
I would comment on the park enhancements. Exactly what I'm doing. Because anyone board is going to improve it, and where work is being done, it's gonna push off whatever it's at that area, or they're going ahead and moving forward.
If they're gonna do something, we may say, well, since they're doing that, we don't need to do this now, absolutely.
Right.
And just be our records. We spend a lot of debate, so we draw a line when it gets to your maintenance. So again, because we got this whole thing, like the bathrooms need painting. A bathrooms need painting, it's not just strategic planning. Okay, but if you're updating the bathrooms, okay, so we got this, always trying to decide where that line is, but what we're trying to de-scope is maintenance. And maintenance could creep into what you just said. So I just want you to be aware, but we said it's general maintenance, we'll kick it over to the other side of the room.
Yeah, I'm not looking at me.
I know, but
I'm looking at like, say, for example, the North Village Playground. If it's only projected with replacement funds for $150,000 and you need to put a $300,000 playground out there, then is that a reputation for that school? Or the North Village bathrooms, I think are terrible. They have that multi-purpose room, that's a waste. That all needs to be figured out, some new.
And we may say,
And I don't know what it's referred to or not, but that's a new project that,
Right.
so that's what I'm talking about.
that's what we would say, don't renovate the closet, that's a closet, that is a community.
The multi-purpose, yeah.
Yeah, that little thing there, but we saw, right, but, Orange has this vision the last 3 years, going to put these pods, North Village, see if I get this right,
East Village.
East Village,
And Artisan.
and Artisan, so 1,000 square foot, 2 bathrooms, and a meeting space, Liz Scouts, Girl Scouts, 800 square foot space. So if we were gonna do that, well, then wait a second, why you weren't getting your bathrooms, then that's what we do. So yes, that's great.
But yeah, it's more time than that.
Yeah, that-
We're all
good.
good.
Okay, so with that, next on the agenda, is the multi-function ports. And we lost Alan, that's okay, so I'm gonna give this just update. And Mark has done a tremendous piece of work, as part of our strategic plan, doing, and that they're not involved architectural plans, it's site, or what do you call them?
Conception.
Sketches,
Yeah.
conceptual sketches,
Right.
some really good sketches. done very well that lay out what this would look like in terms of bathrooms, shaded areas, and 8 multifunction. So our next step, okay, that we want to do, which we want to do soon, next week, week after, is go out with an RFP. With an RFP to the design companies to get a full set of specifications that we could then, once we get those specifications, decide to go to bid, go out to market, proceed, not proceed. But the first thing we need to do is get a price to do the architectural. Not doing it. So step one is, how much is it gonna cost? It's 150, whatever thousand. Gotta get that, put it out to competitive bid. And once that comes back, we make the decision by the end of July to go with company X to the board, to get their approval to go spend the 150 to get a full set of plans. We can put those plans out so that by end of the year, early next year, we would then go forward and say, okay, talked about it back in August of 2024, the strategic plan. Now here's what we want to go do for this. And nothing's changed in terms of kind of the look and the feel of it, but we just need to, this is a cadence of steps. So the first step doesn't cost any money. It's, let's go find out what it's going to take to do that.
It's putting out the RFP to design firms, and it's the same thing as all these projects, is having an overall design firm control the project so that we have all pieces of parts. For instance, in the original idea, it really was the civil engineer putting together things. Well, it needs civil, it needs court design, it's architecture, needs mechanical, electrical, plumbing, needs all these things, landscape. All of it put together a complete project with everything included. So it's finding groups that have done that, which are plentiful. A couple of recommendations anyway, of people to send it to. But it's getting a complete set of plans beyond that can be accurately priced, and here it is. Proceed or not with it,
So
or the architectural design.
between you,
Put an RFP out.
yeah, I think we did. And all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
but we talked about a July date, and after talking to a bunch of people, I said, let's just, why wait until July to go get the bids for that? So yeah, we did talk about it. We don't have to make a
Yeah,
motion,
we can do it
but
sooner.
but we were constrained by a couple things, but one was his art and his ability, because we gotta,
The RFP's written, I hadn't edited it for connecting it to, the manners to the contract.
you know, so it's 90% ready.
There's a little bit of verbiage in there that change.
So the question is, do we have between you, Alec, and Gray Manners enough companies that we could go out, because we want to go out and make sure we get to be responsive back, right?
Yeah,
And to be good companies.
and 100% come up to that. I know one directly, I was gonna ask you, a few people that, were developing community housing developments we see around us, guess what every one of them has? Ball courts and structures, whatever, so it should be that way. Somebody, it just has to be somebody that's interested in doing it at that size.
Because what we found with splash pads, and we had to really do it for the, I think, we had to really work it to get people to bid. Yeah,
It's not a large
it's just-
project.
yeah.
And just to add on the reserve, talking with Lauren here, so with large reserve study items like the playgrounds, some of that stuff goes to Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is, even tomorrow night, they're leaving on the Lakeside Playground. Now, if they're the change, like new equipment and things like that, playground, if the changes are substantial, that management will bring that to this group and say, this needs a full remodel, so this group needs to look at that. But normal reserve things are just taken up by management and then whatever relevant committees. And then if it is a substantial change or a new investment, that is like that.
All right, so we don't need to make a motion to do anything as it relates to the sports courts. But we're going to proceed, hopefully, getting that out in the next, 10 days or so. So,
The board's excited about that.
yeah, well, this is, you know, we're talking about it. Do it cost effective, keep it flexible so that there's more people wanna play basketball, less people play pickleball or whatever. We'll have flexibility.
Yeah, it'll be the same process of having meetings to talk about the exact program, what's there. The space is space, so, yeah, the retention ditch, basically. The area for sports and then a strip of whatever for, shade area bathrooms. Yeah.
Shade bathrooms, parking, yeah, so check out all the boxes.
I think one comment would be just, right, if we're doing A51, which is about 3.2 million.
Yeah.
That pretty much drops our capital right now. If we do the multi-purpose courts, ballpark in million and a half, that's pretty much what we're gonna bring in for 2025. That pretty much shuts us out this year for any other project.
No, we're still not there. You gotta float out. We won't spend any money on the sports until next year.
So it's just the.
We're gonna take,
You gotta earmark this to make sure.
oh, yeah, we earmarked it in, and got a whole little thing, and assuming we spend the 1.2 million for the sports all in next year, we would still end up with over $2 million in capital. Putting out three projects.
But between the splash pad, 851, and if we're going for the courts, I
Yeah.
think these park enhancements are gonna be, it's gonna be, again, controlled by whatever the board is approving.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Whatever, the housing market is like, as well, as to the money coming in. So, I mean, if there becomes one or two that everybody says, boy, this is really the one that we want to do, then, yeah, we can go out and do an RFP for it. So if it's the bathrooms at the amphitheater that everybody said, boy, that'd be great if we could make some money on that as they rented it out, then we could prioritize that. But, I mean, at this point, with these major projects going on, I'm not sure.
But we know if we sell 400 homes a year, if we sell 400 homes a year, and we spend $3.5 million on 851, 600,000 on splash pads, 1.2 on the multi-function sports boards, and 500,000 on parks enhancements. Right?
Yeah, but we don't sell 400 a year.
Okay,
That includes phase two of
Hold on, let's say, if you do all that, it's 2.4, right? Okay, if you don't sell 400 homes and you sell 200 homes, you're short $1 million, right? So then you don't do any parks enhancements.
Right.
Or you defer some of the sports courts, or you just have your hands on the levers, you see how home sales are going, and if they slow down, then you, which easily could, then you defer or you do it. Right now, it lays out 2.4 million is left after doing all of our projects. But that means we have to sell, you know,
Yeah, that's maybe my finance conservative guy coming out, it's just we already have a shortage with anatomy through this year starting, they're not gonna pull the rest of the plants till July. Who knows what sales are gonna look like, so I think that maybe our number right now, the projection is optimistic. And I don't wanna be using a number that's an estimate,
Yeah.
thinking that we're gonna have all that when.
No, that,
But-
right, that estimate was.
but if we did,
With question.
but just for clarity again, if we did all the projects and we sold no homes next year.
That's.
I'm just saying, you'd still have $800,000 in capital. If you did all the projects and sold no. So I got it. So we're just gonna balance this, be prudent, be flexible, and at the same time, continue to invest in the community that's hasn't been necessarily invested. Okay,
We said we'd have $1 million if we sold 200 homes.
now, if we sold, right now, this is $2.3 million. Next year, if we sell 425 homes.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a contribution of 2.2 million for all those home sales plus the half value that comes over, right? So there's $1.7 million coming next year for all the home sales. Got no home sales, subtract 1.7, 2.3, you still got $500,000. So
I'm just looking at it as, right now, $1.5 million is what we get every year for capital that we can spend on good property.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
obviously, if you want things, I hope we have already, we don't have to worry about, this year, so then. 1.5 this year, 1.5 next year, so maybe that increases up to 2 million. That's what we kind of get to play with every year, and
So we will
that
continue to watch that.
it's parks, or park enhancements, or anyone, or fixing up the sign, whatever that may be.
And, again, my point has been to at least get the signs done. So
Yes.
there is the money in the city going. And not,
We don't know how
that process.
Right.
Yeah, so that's one thing I reiterate, it's just get it signed and then it's
Yeah.
off and running.
Okay. All right, thanks. All right, so let's go next to parks enhancements. Shall I get you? Yeah.
I think that's what I was talking about. I mean,
It's a good segment.
yeah, I mean, I think as you're going through these major projects. And have to decide if there's one or two of these I want to go out and get a design for. And then say, okay, we'll put that in our back pocket until we know that we're gonna have funds and the ability to do it. So I think what we should do is for the next meeting, look at the park enhancements and rate them.
They did. I said that, so
You people, oh,
3 people responded.
Yeah.
So we sent it out.
yeah,
3 people responded and, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it was 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there was no, there was, you know, the 3 people responded, but anyway, that's fine.
I would like to see that reserve study so that we can analyze which parks are getting,
Yeah, but just independently,
but I mean, still,
Yeah, well, that's the thing, we're gonna have to be cognizant of. The board last year did Spring Park and Lakeside. Should we be looking at North Village and East Village or Erskine Park, you know, we shouldn't just be blowing it all on one area when the rest of Pumpkin Park are not getting their upgrades. That's,
But we
like,
should
not
not-
like priorities, but we should still look at it holistically.
But we did that, we did the study, we surveyed, we came up with the plan, and then we said, here's the 8 projects.
Right.
North Village Playground, North Village Meeting Rooms, East Village, East Lawn, Meeting Room bathrooms. Reimagined Jones Room, artisan bathrooms, artisan playground. Okay, so those are the, so we could, that's your starter set. You could add it, subtract, cross out them out, do whatever you want, and say, these are, if we had to pick, these are the 2 or 3 of those 6 projects that we would pick.
This is what the community has identified they think needs addressed.
Community and the master plan.
Yes.
We took community input, then we,
Please change the wording of the artisan amphitheater bathrooms to mirror bathrooms. It's both. So all 3 of those buildings are potentially exactly the same.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it says just bathrooms, but
Yeah,
the
but
idea is the
this
meeting
is
room.
the,
Yeah, so if that needs to be edited and make very clear, it means meeting room with it, that's what could be easily written down.
but isn't this based on like, well, us,
so,
isn't this based on last year?
this is our strategic plan. I said for the next 5 years, we put which ones
Yeah.
we're gonna do first, which we're gonna do second, which is third. If you wanna add some, subtract some, we can, but this is what we said. And we can, based upon whatever factors you all decide, this is the starting list. Prioritize it, and then come explain why you think we should do this first, this second.
okay, I'll send out an email to everybody on the committee, let's everyone to prioritize this.
Right.
One, two.
Right. And the
And don't
only,
be biased.
okay, and the only thing that worries me
Well,
is,
that's true, because there is nothing in our area, period.
Well, in all honesty, on East Lawn, I think that whole area needs to be green.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
They put the money in the playground, so we're kind of stuck with that, but I think that building's terrible, and it's terrible. There should be some walkthrough to get to the fields, so I think.
Yeah.
That needs to be a whole redo,
yeah, the whole thing.
outside the playground, because I want to spend money that we just spent.
but,
So that's a larger conversation, I think, of.
It is, what you do with it. I will say, I think that's conservatory between, so I'm not sure, maybe we can go through it with the boardwalk, but to your point, it should connect directly. The one thing I will say is where I thought about putting the meeting room is on the opposite end of the long field so that it's not by anyone's homes. So that nobody can complain about that thing being right in front of them. So at least you get
So
to.
that's what we need. As a series, parking with conservation of it too.
Yeah, you just use the road.
Yeah.
So street parking.
Mark, I don't think we own, I don't think we own that lead to floor with the fence. I think it's.
Yeah, that
I
is,
think
yes.
it's still,
I
then you're gonna run the thing.
can't get these, I can't get,
If we put bathrooms, there's less of a need,
If
but.
we can, if we can talk to CGD to have a building in between or something like that, then you don't need to have bathrooms on the soccer field and pool. Cause you can't have just the pool and kids are gonna be running all over and, you know, not making sure.
I mean,
So,
that fence. Like, that's good for you.
but again, just something
Back
to,
to each one.
there's something to explore, right? To see if there are options out there.
Joanna, what else you want? Joy. The only other comment I would make is, right, we. If a lot of us decide, well, I want to do East Lawn bathroom first.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine, but we. Just have to make sure we've got the community input, we did the plan, and so we do all of these, so we're gonna cross something off or add something. Just need to have good basis.
And
Yes.
we're not-
We can advise financially when that estimated start date and all that.
Yeah, so I do the wall and say, listen, the
Right,
priority.
if we're looking at the same kind of meeting room and bathrooms on 3 different places.
Yes,
Yes.
Then we, that's probably, if you think it's a good idea, then we should go do an RFP and at least get an idea.
Yeah.
Of the cost of one of those pods,
Right.
and then if one pod's, well, $350,000.
I would suggest we put out an RFP that designs all three. because
Yes.
One, you need a civil work for each one. Design all three completely. The plan should be the same for all of them, so it's really we skin it with the style.
Yeah.
But same room, same bathrooms, yeah, the civil work.
The civil to
The
change.
civil is what needs to be also designed for particular sites. They're all different conditions.
And just again, for which words, if I look, just my view, if I look at all projects in the plan. And how they're all kind of working out. So far, we'll find out in the courts, but so far, dollars versus projects are close, maybe off by some percentage. We are definitely way underfunded on the parks enhancements.
Yeah.
Parks enhancements, we have $1 million for all of those parks enhancements. So that would be one area, right? We have more in phase 2, but so we may not do them all only because of funding. The other projects were funded and plugged in here, but there's just, because I think each one of those pods could do 2 pods. Spend most of $1 million just 2 pods.
So the 3 pods was North Village, East, Artisan.
Yes.
So Artisan towards the theater, that one would obviously be used for weddings, so they've got to do down there. Space to get ready to or use. East Lawn, it's obvious we have nothing in that area, period. The North Village, it's there to one, create a better meeting room than that or sad space that is in the building that should also be created. But it also puts 2 bathrooms up by the playgrounds where right now there is none. Everybody has to go all the way back down to the pool to use the restroom. So part of that idea was create something that bathrooms that can serve the playgrounds are there. Also have a meeting room or space. And then if you were to do lawn sports or something with the rest of that, then to whichever direction east of that, have something there's.
We do have to be careful in Artisan, said specifically like for the lights and things they do there. Those are for-profit events for Artisan as a separate entity versus this being a grow-up.
Yeah, right. Well, what I mean is at the amphitheater, that's what I meant is when somebody used to see. They're paying the Artisan, well, that's, I hope. Or,
Yeah,
So when somebody.
yeah, somebody does something separate.
no, when they're in the amphitheater, that's grow.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, that's it, it would be an income stream for us instead to use that space.
With that facility.
with
That
that, so,
facility, yeah, because it'd be a road roughly half the size of this, so perfect. Okay, ready. It's gotta be big enough to do something, but
okay.
still gotta decide.
All right, good, so we'll. Again, that's so these are all always pegged in to be next year, so got a little bit of time. But we get this, no reason not to go out and start doing something that decide essentially. Okay. And last but not least, Bob. We're gonna pull up the charts, that you sent earlier, today. I sent them out very late, so. I should sit.
I think Christian's gonna take the lead since he's in the room there. It'll be much easier.
Okay.
So before I start showing, this was brought up because the community was concerned that you have 6 pools, 2 weed eaters, 4 without eaters. And again, it's so many different types of heating right now that can be used. So the presentation will show you the 3 options that we can use here in Celebration. And it's gonna have some negative items, positive items, some costs, and some operating costs that you can see. Now, all of them are gonna be able to show you operational costs because, just for example, we don't have heat pumps here in any of the pools. So I can compare how much we're paying with those versus gas or geothermal. So I'm gonna give you a brief number and a few stuff, but based on all the data that I input here, it will give you guys an idea if it's worth it or not, which one we can use. I'll go through my recommendations as I check everything, and I double check every single number and companies and brands. But again, that's gonna be my personal input, and then it's your guys' decision. So for example, this one is the size of the pools in gallons. So Lakeside is sort of bigger pool. Spring Park, Island Village, Spring Lake, No Village, Spring Lake and Village. Island Village Phase 2 is coming with a very big pool. It will be bigger than Island Village we have now. That one, the communication we are having is that only have a heater on. And we recommended the geothermal to the builder, so hopefully they gonna move forward with that one, and it's a geothermal gonna be installed on that. So that can be pool number 7, but it will be heated. So this is at the distance that I have from the city center. When I did this, I did it from Blanco Commerce, from our office, where each pool is basically located from that point. So Lakeside is the closer, and then it's Village, and then you move forward on the Island Bridge that is the far away. Show you which one don't have heaters, which one have heaters, geothermal. The options that we're gonna have. Here is some data you probably all know. This is what happened 2024, 2025 when we lost the heaters on both pools. Lakeside was just a compressor damage, some wiring that wasn't safe. We fixed all that. It's up and running. Actually, today I dropped the temperature because the temperature with the outside temperature is going to the 90s. So we drop it to 80 to minimize that. The Spring Park here, we have 4 heaters. They're working great. Have no issues. Since April, they're working perfect. Temperature is good on this. This is what happened. It was 2 heaters, 4 on this one. They were offline. They were 14 years old. And then since we already had the wells for this one, it was easier to just spend $44,000 and put 4 brand new units that changed to a different style gas. But we don't have gas in this area. We need to take a lot of money to bring gas on the ground. And then the heat pumps were too expensive in your monthly for operating versus what you're gonna pay. Important is the one that you guys must. This is another technology. You have electric that is called heat pump, similar to maybe what you most have in your house on your AC units. So at the front, you're gonna have a low cost. It's usually gonna be probably $3,000-$4,000. Now it's a heat unit, there's a heat element. So what's gonna happen is when the pool is at 50 degrees on the water, and you need to heat that to 80 degrees. We're talking about 30 degrees of that unit gonna be running and consuming amps all day to get to that temperature and then maintain it. So your operating cost will be 3 times that what we have right now, for example, Lakeside. To give you an example, Lakeside right now, we pay around 2,500 a month just on the heaters. If we put heat pumps on Lakeside, we're gonna double or triple that. So we're gonna be paying $5,000 to $6,000 per month to keep that pool here. So that's gonna be the difference between having a heat pump, having a geothermal. Geothermal, I don't know if you all know what is the technology. You have two ways. You can do a well. You're gonna do two wells. You're gonna take water from the ground that is always at 75 degrees. Bring it to the system. So all your pool water, they don't wanna touch each other, but they're gonna run through similar areas and pipes that are gonna pass the heat temperature from the ground to the pool water to keep it always at 75, 76 degrees. So when the actual unit needs to kick on, only need to run 5 to 10 degrees and it's ready on temperature. So that's why your low cost of energy is half of the heat pumps. That is, we'll say, the best system that we can think because you're gonna save you energy, but it's a big cost upfront. Each pool from 4 pools is gonna be over 100K each. One of them gonna be like 145, I think I don't know. So 145,000 just to put the system. If I put a electric one, it will be 26,000. So we're talking about huge different numbers upfront. But then in operation, the one upfront gonna start giving you benefits, the other one gonna start ramping up. And then the expectancy of the life, I'll show you here. For example, North Village, if I'm gonna put a heat pump, it's $26,000. If I put a geothermal, it's $115,000. On North Village, we don't have a body of water, so we need to make wells. So we also need to identify where we're gonna do the wells. That would be a total, 115.
So Christian, I saw this chart before, and so what I didn't get until you just mentioned it,
Mhm.
if we just take North Village.
Mhm.
Electric, that 26,000, okay, annual operating, you have 7,000. For the electrical cost, which would be in that second column there, if I wrote down the numbers right, it could be, you said, it could be $70,000 a year, $60,000.
So 26 is the cost to put the units, 3 units,
Yeah, the units, but what's the bill gonna be for my electric?
so I don't think we don't have any to compare based on the one from the geothermal that we have in the study. The study of the geothermal for North Village
I got it.
estimates 7,000 in electrical.
But we don't know yet what the electrical,
It will for sure will be low. So for sure, we will be in between 12 to 14. Maybe.
It's Christian, is there any other HOAs that Grand Manor manages in Florida that has electrical pumps? And or heaters, and what's their cost? Is that something that can be shared with us?
So we can look at that one. I don't have that information. I don't know.
And that's what we're doing, as close as we can.
Hold up. So much. Got it, okay, because at that,
Now, just to give you a different, when I was doing this process, the selected that I have here for 26 is a special unit, just got released. And is built by the same manufacturer that do the geothermal. That is called Outlet. They guarantee that their system, because the issue that you're gonna have with the electric heat pump, when it drops here to 40, 45 degrees, you're done. You put them again. The unit gonna shut off, they're gonna froze up, it will not heat the pool. There is no way that, nobody gonna guarantee that. They release a new pool with a new system and they're guaranteed that at mid 40 degrees, your pool gonna reach 82 degrees. And it's all right.
Nobody should be swimming, it's 40 degrees.
I was thinking the same, but when this went out.
That's
yeah,
what
we
I'm
well,
It's a good thing from Illinois that they have.
Yeah, they were lining up at 6 in the morning to go on the.
Disney still in the water parks.
but the issue was 3 days later, that water's still
Yeah.
50 degrees.
I'm good. I'm good, but I need to record it because again, I get slammed in the morning on emails and tickets. Why the pool is not open? It's 50 degrees, 45 degrees, they wanna go swim.
That's not the
They
point,
don't care.
it's not, the point is the next day, when it's 70 degrees outside.
Yeah.
That water was 45, if you got to get pump. And
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
wait,
think
yeah.
electric,
Yeah, that's-
it would take you way too.
Yeah.
So
It's
electrical,
not-
let's do longer. This unit again, they are guaranteed and put it on writing and it's the same manufacturer as the geothermal that we have. So that is an option to look.
At the last meeting, I think it was Dave who talked about the third option, not electrical budget.
Yeah, gas.
Yes.
The only building that you can do that is Island Village.
So they can't do gas anywhere else.
You can, no,
No,
because
they already have gas in the ground and then.
they have it,
Okay, so, but here, so I'm sorry.
There's a gas station.
Okay,
you have a meter there, it's ready to
got
go.
it. All right,
That was, this one is 42 because it's a gas unit, not a heat.
Right, but why is the estimated annual operating cost so high when natural gas costs so low?
So that's the comparison of natural gas,
It's only 4 feet deep.
I should, well, but again, I don't care because when I do it. That's so much like 18,000. We're not doing gas. We can't do gas.
Why?
It's told me it's not a gas line.
And I don't know.
Island Village, oh, God, yeah, Island Village.
Island
Village.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, my natural gas bill every month is like $32.
yeah, but remember,
Minus zero.
is there?
I got it.
It's because of the amount of gallons that you need to heat and the BTUs, we can compare with what we use on our houses. So the gas rate is $1.70 per turn, and the electric rate is 0.11 kilowatts. So doing that math and the $77, that's how they got those two different operation costs.
Okay, but they didn't say that it's only 4 feet deep, which means
They-
the sun, like the sun.
Everything is by calculation, so
All right,
Let's get back.
All right.
So just follow on this in the conversation, right? It's, I think it's a nice to have for North Village, Spring Lake, and East Village, but not a priority for the community. And that, as far as what we have money wise, Island Village, the current one is not needed, but it sounds like the second one we are. So they will have at least one heater pool out there in Island Village. So we'll have 3 out of 7. Yeah, not bad. With the funds that we have, and I know we want to do park enhancements and multi-purpose park, and I think that's gonna be the conversation of where we put that 1.5, 2 million. But if we're gonna agree on Island Village second pool being needed, then I think that's where we kind of land on this.
it's going to be a lap pool. So you're gonna have swim team down there all the time. I have a feeling.
Like Olympic size one?
It's gonna be entirely different. It's more clear. That it's, at 50 every time.
It's not gonna be as like
So it's,
So, couple comments, actually, thank you. So we've got, let's argue both sides. We've been here for 30 years, okay, with 2 heating pools. And they both went down for 2 to 3 months at the same time. Prior to that, there may have been groups, some swim teams, some people that would like to heat it more pools, or whatever. But there hasn't been a huge, at least that I'm aware of, putting this as a high priority in town. It is expensive regardless of the option. Right? It's either up front, either gotta pay more up front, or you gotta pay more every month. And then, so that's one argument. The other argument is we're town, 14,000 people, we only have 3 heating pools. We should have more.
I think the apartments, as we did.
I'm sorry.
I know, Addison it is, but, everybody can use that one.
yeah,
And then this is our prices just on the unit. To all this, you will need to do electrical to get this to work. We will need to adjust the fencing of the pump room, so we will need to spend money.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions or anything? Do you have any questions? Anything?
Buy more money.
Find more money.
We'll put that to the finance committee.
Yeah.
Back to Jim.
One comment,
Sure.
as long as you asked.
I did, please do.
Click is gonna be the owner representative on the project.
Yes.
Is one.
Yes.
I don't know that you need a project manager in addition to Click, because they're gonna act as our representative. You usually on a project, just have an owner representative. So there's gotta be some collaboration or coordination with somebody from town hall, as you said.
Yeah.
But I think you've got the expertise
in that collective.
As long as we scope it out, and here's exactly what I want you to do, then let's get, make sure it's in their scope, but if it's not added to the scope.
Well, it's part of their
It's
business.
their eyes.
Okay.
That's right, you work,
Okay.
you work that way with everybody with Disney, so we know they're
Yeah.
high performers, so I think you're, I
Okay,
think you're gonna find them.
thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, you just saved $50,000.
Yeah,
We're running into
But that's
this.
10% me.
thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
So what's your recommendation?
So
What's your final?
geothermal is what I think will pick the.
Hey, Joe and Christian, can I make a few comments before you get to that? So if you go to
Yes,
the
sir.
last slide, I think what we ought to be talking about, there's really two decision points here. The first one is, do we have a major problem that we need to resolve? And I think the reason we talked about the December through April issue is very simple. It was kind of the perfect storm where chances are very high or probability very low, if you will, that's going to occur again. So I think part of why we're here is because we had the outage in the first place. And if we hadn't had the outage, I'm not sure we would be here. Other than maybe talking about Island Village, which is why Christian provided the distance to city center, which is the second decision point. So decision point one, do we need to do anything? Decision point two is Island Village special because it is further from city center and therefore it's not really close enough, if you will, for local heated pool usage. Now again, from my point of view, we can dig a lot deeper into these things and we will if you so instruct us. But I think the first question should be, do we need to do anything? And if so, is it Island Village? And if so, what would we like to do? Do we want to wait for the second pool to be developed, which is probably a 2 or maybe 3 year away activity? Or do we want to do something right now to accommodate those folks who today would be sort of out of the distance for heated pool relative to the rest of the community?
Is the phase two full truly 2 years out?
Yeah. I think we should get some better information on the electric costs before we even make a decision.
Yeah.
And I would also.
Just my understanding is Lakeside and Spring Park, when they were built, I believe they were people at some point and the community made the decision to go to Geo. So if I'm able to find 2015 or before electric bills, I can see what we were paying at that point, just to see if and compare the area. It's difficult to compare this pool here with one in Kissimmee because of location where the sun hit. So it may be gonna give you some numbers, but
it's also, it's, you only have to heat these pools for a short amount of time. I mean, it's around here, what, 2 months, maybe? I mean,
so basically, I started in October. They were screaming for the heater since October to just Friday when they asked me to lower. So
right, those are the people that were always using these heaters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's whole community. But yeah, I think we just gotta get some more information.
Yeah, let's get some more information, and meanwhile, I think this is what I'm hearing, is let's get some more information. And we'll table it for now, we'll get prioritized against the other projects, but it is not a priority for allocating, for us to put it above some of the other projects we have, or to keep it as a, let's say, home sales next year, 600 home sales, okay, now maybe we would go past. But I really think the other issue is, Shane knows, I go every day to Island Village. I swear, because I look out the window when I'm on, it's the same 12 people that are there. It literally is the same 12 people, except during spring break, we have all these kids, I have no idea.
Or the summer.
Okay, or the summer, but you don't need it in summer. I'm saying,
No, that's right.
in the winter, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Whatever, it's just not, if we look at some of these projects that will have an effect, bigger parts of the community. We should keep it here, we should look at it and perhaps. Prioritize it off.
I know Jim's saying more information, but if there's consensus, I'm looking at it saying the Island Village pool two is gonna give you, that's kind of where we're looking at. Nothing else is gonna be needed. But that's our stance right now.
Our stance
Focus
is
on
on
our enhancements, multipurpose sports, other areas, and focus there.
And it will be, we'll move to the bottom of the list, but we'll stay on the list.
Yeah, stay there, just.
we have the appraisal, so we know where we're
Yes.
at.
Yeah.
And then at that point, we can just look what option that fit better.
Good.
And again, more of just not wasting Christian's time and doing work on the polls when you want to do that.
When
When the great parts, so.
Okay.
I'm cognizant of the bandwidth.
Well, my concern is if those two pools are down again.
I'll just be 12 people calling.
We can take it, no, I think it's a fair point, I'm sure. What could we be doing better on pool maintenance, do more preventive maintenance, check or whatever to do. Whatever needs to be done, which I'm sure that they must as hard as this last thing.
This thing is coming cheap, but maybe the community center needs an indoor pool. That's their place to go.
Well, and think about things, since we just resurfaced and reheated these pools, so these pools are good. What have we not touched that's gonna break next? And how do we get ahead of that?
Yes.
Before that happens.
Yeah. And meanwhile,
Whether that's fountains, gazebos, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that could be on that list.
listen, yeah. Okay, all right, so that was, still, I'm not signing that, but, just an administrative point, because I did such a poor job last time with, when we had meetings. So right now, historically, we said we didn't always follow them, but we're gonna have meetings on the third Wednesday of the month, because the second, fourth. Workshop board meeting, so we would do it on that third Wednesday. So, does anybody have a different idea? If not, we will do it, look to change it next month. Probably even Christmas or something, but in general, that's when we'll have these meetings once a month. We will have the subgroups with the project champions can meet, talk to each other, but then formally we'll be meeting on that third Wednesday.
Yeah, the new guy, I'm happy to jump on park enhancements.
Okay, good. Well, and that's that for the room, so if you want, put it on the official list. Any other questions, comments, ideas, thoughts, issues? Okay. That makes it turn. Thank you.